We're going to do the first mimer of Emer on page Lamed Aleph, or 61. It's a very Jewish parsha. It's called Emer, speak, talk.
I think make more Jewish would be Shaila or Taina. Right?
Although Pirkei Avos is all about keeping quiet and the virtue of silence. Okay. There's room. Here, whatever you like. Venikdashti Besoch Bnei Yisroel. The Eibishter says, I'm going to be sanctified in the Yidden, or among the Yidden. Now, Torah is going to zero in on what Venikdashti means, what does Teich mean, what does Kadesh altogether mean, etc. Lahavin Ma'u Lashon Teich. What is the Lashon Teich inside the Yidden? Just say among the Yidden, or with the Yidden. The Gam Tzarech Lahavin. Secondly, we have to understand. Chazal tell us there are three groups of Malachim. We say this in davening every day. Kat Achas Emeres Kadesh. One group says Kadesh. The Kat Achas Emeres Kadesh Kadesh. And another group says Kadesh twice. The Kat Achas and a third group says Kadesh, 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 Hashem Tzvayis v'Kemer. Kedisa b'Chulin, as the Gemara in Chulin explains at length of how this process goes. The Tzini Lema Shakato Aleph Emeres Pam Achas Kadesh. The Kata Beis Keflim Emer Beis Pam Kadesh. Kata Gimel Gimel Pamim, which means that the first group says it just once. The second group, let's say, is taken more, and they repeat it. They say Kadesh 2 times, and the third group says Kadesh 3 times, and they continue. The way we say it, we say Kadesh, Kadesh, Kadesh. We say 3 times, just like the third group or third category of Malachim. The Gam Tzarech Lav Mashkas of the Nazir. We also have to understand what it says in Nazir. Gam Kelash and Kadesh. Regarding a Nazir, we're told that he's called the Kadesh. The Nazir is referred to as holy, even though he has to bring a carbon later and various different things that we're not so pleased with. But for the process of being a Nazir, he's referred to as holy. Because of Kadesh Yeh Gadol Pera, the pasuk says that he's going to be Kadesh, the one that keeps his hair growing. Don't try this at home because you can't undo it until Mashiach comes, because you have to bring a carbon and so on. So no Naziros thing. You can skip a haircut for Sfira, but don't go for 7 years or 30 days, whatever. Also need to understand why it says Kadesh by Nazir. Hine, Ksiv Srafim Im Dimimala. It says that Srafim, which we'll use the term higher category of Malachim, are standing above him. How is it possible? How could there be these beings, which obviously are creations, as high as they are, but they're above the Shechina? They're creations, and therefore they're Balei Gvul, they're finite. Shechina is not. And you can't say standing above, which implies somehow a greater level. How is that practically possible? So we want to know why it says Teich. We want to know this whole idea of Kadesh, Kadesh, and there's two types of Kadesh. There's once, twice, 3 times the way we say it. What's Kadesh altogether? Why is a Nazir called Kadesh? Excuse me. And what's the idea of Srafim standing above him? How is it possible for anyone to stand above Hashem, so to speak? So there's a pasuk that says, with you, the imcha is the source of life. Why don't you say you are the source of life? Which kind of sounds more natural. You're the source of life as opposed to with you is the source of life. The Yevon calls us to understand all of these things. So the key to understanding all this is to appreciate what does the word Kadesh, what does holy even mean? We use this all the time, especially in davening. We're talking about Malachim and higher worlds, and we have to be Kadesh in the last week's Parshas Kadeshim. What does this mean? What does Kadesh even mean?
I thought we defined it as a properly baked jelly donut.
We're looking for the second shot.
Oh, okay.
that for sure goes first. One day you have to bring it. Hanukkah. Then a Kadesh Pirushay Muvdal. Kadesh means separate. Someone that is removed from, separate from everyone else, aloof, That's called Kaddish. That's what holy means. This is where the common mistake comes from, where in other circles of human beings, they think that being holy means escape to a cave or remain on a mountain or separate from the rest of the world. Don't interact. Being removed from is holy. Now, in Yiddishkeit, we know that being removed, it makes you less holy if you cut yourself off from Venikdashti and this world and so on, but in the proper way. But like literally, what's this concept of Kaddish? It's being separate. In a Kaddish, Pirushay Muvdal means separated. As it says, I am the Eibishter, I didn't change. There's no change by Hashem. Whether it's before He created the world, between before or after, there is no difference. Hashem didn't change, meaning He wasn't affected. I was the pre-world type of God, and then Chas v'Shalom, somehow this thing, the process changed me. Hashem doesn't change. He's Kaddish, He's removed from it, and it doesn't affect Him. You are the Eibishter, we say this in Shachris, before you created the world, and you are the one after you created the world, which means exactly the same. A human being would make such a world. It's a major accomplishment, and it changes the person in the process. Right? They say becoming a millionaire is not about the money at the end, it helps, but it's about the process of becoming a millionaire. It changes the person. They become different people. They have different habits, they have different ethics, they have different whatever. If the whole person disciplines and so on, they become a different person. If they got there, if they earned it, then the process changed them. And anything, you write a book, you get a degree, whatever it is, it changes you along the way because of there's a lot involved. Unless, as in Abish's case, he is removed from it, so it doesn't affect me in any way. The only effect that I have is I decided, Hashem says, that I want this to consider, make me happy, so to speak. This gives me nachas. This is, I set up this game and I want this to work this way, but it's not literally changing me in any manner.
Well, I think Oxford did give Hashem an honorary PhD.
You think so? The thank you letter?
Right.
There's a response speech, no? Something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah. Remarks. But it means that there is no change or excitement, effect by Hashem, heaven forbid, from creation of the world. I'm the first and I'm the last. Nothing happens as a result of the world in between. How is this possible? Because Hashem is separate from all the worlds. It's the fact that He enlivens and sustains the worlds. It's not like the nefesh which sustains the body. But the nefesh itself literally gets into the body to sustain it. But in let's back up a little bit. To understand how the Eibishter interacts with the world, he's explaining to us what he does not do, how he does not work. And in that manner, somehow we can understand. Very often in Chasidus we say, you can't understand Hashem, but you can understand what He's not. And by way of exclusion, so to speak, you can get a better picture of what it is. We'll never know exactly what it is because we're human minds, but we know, by way of exclusion, we know a lot. We're getting closer to what He is. So we're using the example of a neshama that's sustaining the body and how it works, and we're saying Hashem does not work that way. By a neshama, the actual neshama goes into the body of the person, and that gives him chayis, and that keeps him going, and every limb that needs specific type of chayis gets it from the neshama, which is in the body. So there's a connection which is very strong. That's also why when the neshama leaves the body, there's impurity because there's an effect from it. The neshama, there's a strong attachment from being in that case. They're working together because he's in the body. By Hashem, in the world, it does not work that way. You can see it inside. It's not like the nefesh which gives life to the body. That the actual nefesh literally goes into the body to sustain him. But in it's taken literally in the body, and then and it divides the chayis, the energy that's coming from the nefesh. It gets broken down or separated. Ba'aguf l'gimel chalakim. And generally speaking, there's much more than three, but generally there's three categories or parts of how the neshama goes into the body. That you have b'meichen shebereish. You have number one, the part which is a much more concentrated and higher level energy that's in the head and brain of the person. V'achayis shebeguf, the chayis which is in the body of a person, and then v'achayis sheberaglayim, which is a little bit less than the rest of the body, or less intense than the head and the body, and of course the head. Shachayis hamalubish behareish, the chayis which is enclosed in the head, na'ile yeser harbe mechayis shebeguf. It's much higher, greater, like a more loftier chayis than the rest of the body. That's why the head is, you see clearly, the head has a much more impact on the rest of the body than other parts do. We should never know these things, but Chas Hashem, if there's an issue with a certain part of the body, depending where it is, it doesn't necessarily affect the rest of the body. There's vital organs, but within that itself, the head is the nerve center of the rest of the body. So, and it's because it has a much stronger, higher level chayas from the neshama that's there. So it's in the body, and then it gets divided into three, and the top one is the most intense or greater level of chayas. We see it clearly. Who called pnimius achayas. All of the internal chayas, meaning the best part of it, is in the head. The heel of a person, so to speak, you get a little chayas, just to sustain it. It's not as sensitive as the head and everything that's inside the head. The koyach of thinking or thought, v'aseichel and intellect, v'achushim ha'meulim shebepanim, and the lofty faculties that are in the face, re'iyah, shmiyah, vision, hearing, etc. These obviously require a tremendous level of neshama energy, and it's the same neshama, it's in the same body, but it's giving more to those organs because they're much more sensitive, loftier, require much more. The chayis, which is in the body, is lower than this bechina. Over there you have the mishkan, the dwelling of the midas, which are in the heart, which they're lower than seichel. And also the keich hamaisa, which are in the hands. So you have a lower stage. These are the chayis that are in the rest of the body, meaning the body parts. So you have midas, which are in the heart. They still need a higher level, but they're less than head chayis, as well as keich hamaisa, which is in the ability of action of doing, let's say, writing. It takes a certain skill. Most people with their toes, they can't play piano, right? Some people could, at least they say they could. But your fingers there's a keich hamaisa which your hands have that your feet don't. And the reason is because it has more of a chayis than the lower part of the body, a different type of chayis. It is lower than the chushim, the faculties and the abilities of the face, the vision and hearing and so on. Afterwards in the legs, it's even lower than the chayis which are in the body. The reason why technically it happens this way, or how it happens, because the meichin, which is in the head, receives chayis first, and from a deeper level, a more internal level of the nefesh itself. The same nefesh, but it's very involved in the body, and it's giving certain parts of the body a more pneumistic chayis from itself, and therefore it affects it in a much stronger way. But the key that he's getting at here is, unlike the Eibishter creating the world, where he's separate from it, just projecting down or shining off, instructing, so to speak, by the neshama, it's in the body. It's very involved with the body. The body matters, and which part of the body matters. That means it's very, very connected, almost affected by the body. If we're dealing with the head, okay, let me change myself this way and give this amount of chayas. The feet don't need that much. Okay, I'm going to give this amount of chayas. The body is affecting you and causing you to do certain things from within yourself.
And the chayas has gone down and concentrated in the center because the jelly donut has traveled down there and the energy from it.
Hence the waistline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
And then the crash after. from the previous nefesh. And afterwards, from the lower level of the head, the neshama comes into the body. First part, inner part, goes to the head. After that, a little bit lower chayis and less goes into the body. And after that, even less of the pnimius. It still has the ability to sustain the person, and everything else that the foot needs. We're not going to discount it, but it's less than the other parts of the body. So the chayis that gets extended from the Mehus HaNefesh gets divided into three general parts, Hanal, Reish, V'guf, V'raglayim, head, body, and feet. V'yesh b'chol echad kama ivarim pratim k'neidan. Each one of these limbs, parts have individual limbs. So the head category has, the eyes are not the same as the brain. And in other words, there's three categories. Within each three, there's many specifics. But generally speaking, they're the three above mentioned b'chinas. And the change of their levels. The change of these levels are affected by the amount of revelation of chayis that come to them from the nefesh. The reason why the head is more sensitive, it has more abilities than other parts of the body, finer abilities, is because it has a greater revelation of the godly chayis that's in the nefesh. So the greater the revelation, the more cool things, we're going to call it, it could do. But what could a finger do? It could feel, a sense of touch. I mean, it's important, but it's not the eye. There's a reason why he's going into such detail here, because it's important to understand how it works. In the head shines a higher level of the nefesh. Comes out that the chayis hanefesh is literally enclosed and taken, like grabbed within the nefesh itself, grasped in the nefesh. Let's talk about, let's use just a side example. I think it'll help. The President of the United States, whoever he may be at any time, is not involved in the garbage collection on our block. I could tell, no. But it's why? Because he's beyond that. He's dealing with whatever, global warming. You have a lower level, so to speak, of government that's dealing with those things. The governor is not either, and the mayor is probably not either. So in a sense, if you say that I'm involved in the specifics, I'm a lower level than something that's above me. Right? The king is not involved in such details of the shtetls. He has governors, mayors, whatever, regions, and so on. If the ability to deal with the details is because you're down there you're on a lower level, therefore you could do it. What he's saying here is the neshama is involved in the body in a very, very real way. It has to allow itself, it has to be low enough to be able to interact and say, oh, a head, okay, let's give it this amount. Hands, really? So you're very, very concentrated on the guf. And therefore this chayis gets divided, which is mispashit from it, and it's taken in the body based on the kelim of the body. Because the klei ameichin are higher, loftier than klei aguf, right? The brain obviously is a very different type of faculties and limbs than the rest of the body. That's why they receive a greater level than from the Mehus HaNefesh, which is keach hamachshava v'seichel kanal. Okay, this is all by the neshama. It's in the body, it's involved with the body, it's affected by the body, it tunes itself to which part of the body it needs. First in three categories, three sections, head, body, feet. And then with each one of these sections, specific to what that needs. All this is the neshama operating system. But this that the Eibishter Yisbarich is mechaya the worlds, it doesn't work that way. There is no breaking up, division, going into parts by the Eibishter, heaven forbid. It's inaccurate. It doesn't apply to use the term head, end, beginning, end by the Eibishter. He's infinite, so he always was, he always will be. You can't say, okay, we're going to go at the top, the bottom. It's not top, bottom, it's beginning and end.
It's talking about a Jew or any Adam or any Nefesh?
Good question. Any Nefesh that's operating in the Nefesh Bahamas, the energy that exists physically. The Nefesh of the kids is not the one that's sustaining our the blood flow. So any human being, it works that way.
Mm-hmm.
And even in animals, right? Different type of nefesh, but in animals also, right? The fact that they have the ability to see is because whatever is sustaining them is more concentrated, and there's more revelation of that. You can't produce it on your own. You can't make an animal, right? Maybe they think they could, but you can't really create life. So whatever the energy is doing, it is very specific. Why is it not shaykh by the Eibishter? Because he's the first and he is the last. Because the Eibishter is not mislabish in the world. He's here, he's everywhere, but not in a way of his slabshus the way an neshama is in the guf. Not the same way that an neshama is enclosed in the body. It's 5-2. Well. And because that's the case, therefore, it's not shaykh at all to use a term hischalkus within the chayes that Eibishter is using to sustain the world. Why? Because the only time you could say hischalkus is if you're enclosed in it, and then you could separate. Okay, this part's getting this amount of chayes, that part's getting that amount of chayes. So what we're getting at is the Eibishter's kadosh. He's removed from this world. Of course he's operating the world, he's sustaining the world, but not in a way that's referred to as a slabshus, that he's in it and being affected because he's, well, what am I dealing with? Am I dealing with the head? Okay, let me give him this. So that means it matters what you're dealing with, and you're going to go backwards and twist yourself around to give each one the right chayas. That means you're mislabish. The Eibishter is not mislabish in the world in that way. There are lower levels, malakam and other things that are mislabish, but as far as the Eibishter, in the literal sense, is not mislabish in the body. Specifically in the chayes, which goes into the kelim, which we have such chayes, memale versus sevid and so on. In that context, yes, it's mislabish and it goes in. Of course, the Eibishter is sustaining the world, but Kaddish is a level that it's beyond. Creating the world, I'm not getting into the details. I'm conducting it.
Islam says you're translating as like emotional engagement or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, literally, it's enclosed me, but like a glove, right? It fits exactly. So that's all you're limited to. You can't be a hat.
Hashem's not upset like I am that I gained a third of a pound on Shabbos, for example.
You shouldn't be, because by Tuesday it'll be gone.
Okay, right, Hashem.
The Eibishter is mechaya the world. It's not through being enclosed in them. Therefore, it's not shaykh at all, any type of separation. Not at all. It doesn't work that way to say, oh, it's going to divide. It only divides if you're in it. Right? If you're mamash in it, so you can give this part to here, this part to there. If you're just shining off, imagine the sun shining in here. If the window's open, it's going to give chayes. It's not going to, the light and the energy, the warmth. It's not going to say, you know what, I think the corner should get a little less. I think the lights need more. It doesn't. It's doing its thing. Powerful, but it's not going to get into the specifics of how it works. So Pirush V'inyan Kadesh, the Anoshis Berach Kadesh Umodel Eibishter is holy and separated Me'er L'meis. Even though he's living and sustaining it from nothing, Im Kol Zeh Im Mislabesh B'Seichon, nonetheless he's not being mislabesh in them. And that's why, because he's not mislabesh in them, there's no change with the Eibishter. Oh, I created a world, now I'm different. There's no shina by the Eibishter, there's no spiralus by the Eibishter. Me'abriya from creation. On the contrary, the neshama is affected from the happenings of the body. It's enclosed in the body. What we're getting at is, what does Kodesh mean? What does holy mean? Holy means I'm so great that I'm not in the specifics, and therefore I don't separate myself the neshama would and give this part here, this part there. It's not a contradiction. We're stuff to get to it, but it's not a contradiction to the fact that Hashgacha Pratis and the Eibishter is actively involved in every detail, but from a different level, where the Eibishter is Kodesh and he's affecting and impacting the whole world, but not in a way of slabshus.